guys, I've just been out for a run, concentrating on my MAF heart rate, trying to run aerobically, and I thought this would be a great time to give you some tricks and tips, and errors that you might make, because I just did a few myself. So while it's fresh in my head, I thought I'd just talk about them. So one is basically when we start our run, the first 5 or 10 minutes, it's a warm-up. You're going to feel the fresh, you're going to feel good, your heart rate's going to be low because you've just started. So, you really should try and concentrate on trying to go out slow and feeling really easy. It probably should be the first 10 minutes should be the easiest part of your run. Saying that, I just went out and my first 10 minutes were the fastest part of my run until my heart rate then blew up and I had to literally slow down to slower than I've ran for the last 2 weeks to control my heart rate. So I made that mistake myself. I got a little bit excited, seeing the first 5 minutes tick over, thinking, oh, I'm getting better. So not every run's going to be better. That's why we're doing it over a 6-week period. I like to use at least from the first week to the last week to compare, because you can't compare each run to run. All my other runs have been in the morning. Today was in this afternoon. Maybe that's why my heart rate was higher. A little bit warmer, that might be why my heart rate's higher. I just ate, that's why it could be a reason. Just had a coffee, that could be another reason. There's many reasons why it could be a little bit higher. So don't get depressed if you go to a run and it's gone down a little bit. It's not the end of the world. Number 2 is a good way to, when you very first start and any time while you're running, is use nasal breathing. So because we're using less oxygen, that's the idea, we should be able to supply ourselves with enough oxygen, because we're using less, by just breathing through our nose. So just breathe in and out through your nose. You should be able to run 20-30 seconds, not the whole run. Maybe you can if you want, but that's a really good way to not have to keep looking at your watch, to keep things in check. The other one that I stuffed up as well is every time I started my 5 minutes, I ran the first minute too fast. So then I got my heart rate up above it. So then, I was up 2, 3, 4 beats above where I wanted to be within a minute. So then I had to just slowly slow down. 3 times I ended up going, this is shit, so I just walked for 5 seconds, brought my heart rate back down, and then just ran off. After a first couple, I then just went, stuff it, I'm just going to run as slow as possible, to stay under it the whole time, and in the end, my pace average was the same. So the other one is, don't go out in each of those, after you walk, don't go out too fast, just take off nice and relaxed. The next one is everyone's going to go, I can't run that slow, it's too hard, blah blah blah. Most of there's only 2 ways to slow down. One is to take less steps per minute and slow your cadence down, so your run technique all slows down. The other one is to reduce your stride length from this long to this long. They're the only 2 ways you can do it. You either got to take less steps per minute, so you slow down, or less stride per minute. Less length per minute. If you take less strides per minute, and generally you're already running relatively slow and your cadence is already relatively low, it means you are going to carry more force through this leg each time when you take a step. So you're longer on the leg. So the longer you're on the leg, the less efficient it is, the more effort and the more energy it's going to expel to carry you. So I believe that you should try and minimum stay at reasonably the same cadence. When I run fast, I run at a cadence of about 95. When I'm running like this, I'm running at about 92. So we're only losing 2 and 3. I run with a high cadence. I'm not necessarily saying everyone should run above 90, but it's just relatively that you shouldn't go from 85 back to 80, because that's going to be a severe problem. And then the other one is that when you are running, if you are actually overstriding, so when I say overstriding, you're landing out in front of you. When we talk about a long stride, we're talking about a really high back lift, and that lengthens out the stride, the amount of time before that lands again. A lot of people, when they think of long stride, they think of this big gallop like this. The only problem with that is when you land out in front of you, your hips are back behind your knees, and the only way for you to get over your foot is to actually physically lift yourself. But most of the time when you land, this works as a spring, it goes down, then the energy bolts back up. So all you do is you end up going up and down on the one spot. So as you can see, this is a spring. We can keep the pelvis tilted forward, land underneath us. Basically the spring springs forward here. Then we land underneath and springs forward. So instead of bounding up and down on the spot on a spring and using excess energy, excess oxygen, we are using momentum and fall to land, spring us land, springers, land, springers. Obviously that's overcompensated. Cadence and run technique and run form's a different subject, but we'll go into another time. But that's just some quick tips to help you run at a lower heart rate if you're really struggling at the moment. All right guys, thank you.